My research article was Conditioned Emotional Reactions by Watson and Rayner. Suppose you were bitten by a dog when you were younger. As an adult, you may feel uneasy, nervous, or anxious around dogs. This is an example of a conditioned emotional response. In this classical study, Watson and Rayner were interested in the possibility of conditioning various types of emotional responses like fear, rage, or love, and decided to test this idea experimentally. This experiment was done with a participant named Albert B. The researchers wanted to find the answers to 4 questions through this experiment. 1. Can we condition fear by simultaneously presenting an animal and striking a steel bar? 2. Can the conditioned emotional response transfer to other animals or objects? 3. What effect does time have on the conditioned emotional response? 4. What laboratory methods can remove such an emotional response if over time they have not died out? The researchers used observational techniques to record data. As shown in my slide, at 9 months, Albert was shown a series of stimuli, which was neutral, and he didn't show any signs of fear. A steel bar, which was the unconditioned stimulus, was struck 3 times behind Albert's head, which elicited a scared reaction, which was the unconditioned response, from Albert, which was crying. In order to establish the conditioned emotional response, the researchers combined the 2 stimuli. When Albert was 11 months old, a white rat, which was the neutral stimulus, was shown to him, and just when he reached for the rat, a steel bar was struck, which was the unconditioned response, behind his head. Albert showed a fear reaction. A week later, when Albert was shown the rat, which was the conditioned stimulus, he was hesitant to touch it, and after they performed the same experimental procedure again, Albert showed a fear reaction, which was the conditioned response. After using the steel bar to be associated with the sight and feeling of furry objects, Albert showed an emotional response to all fuzzy and furry objects. As shown in my slide, what was found was that the feeling and sight of a fur coat, cotton wool, rabbit, Santa beard, and dog, which was the conditioned stimuli, all elicited the same fear emotional response or conditioned response in Albert. The emotional response to all furry objects suggested that the number of transfers from a conditioned emotional response may be very large. The researchers also used blocks, which was the neutral stimulus, as a control, and Albert never showed an emotional fear response to the blocks and always played with them readily. This experiment as a whole showed that over time, conditioned emotional responses persist for longer than a month, although the intensity of the fear response lessens over time. The researchers concluded that humans can be easily triggered to respond with fear at an early age and increases over time with repeated exposure. A major problem with this study was that Albert was taken from the hospital and no deconditioning was ever executed. This is problematic because conditioned emotional responses and transfer persist and modify our personality throughout life according to these researchers' conclusions. Another noteworthy finding was Albert's coping mechanism of thumb sucking, found in the incidental observation section. The researchers compared this thumb sucking to Freud's idea of erogenous zones that can block fear-producing stimuli when stimulated. A real-world application was that the researchers also determined that many phobias in psychopathology are true conditioned emotional reactions, either of the direct or the transfer type. This was a starting point for understanding phobias in a clinical and systematic way.